Hey everyone, thanks a lot for joining. And this is like one of the first live streams for this year. Does it still make sense saying Happy New Year because it's like March now? But I saw this nice comment where this really missed the days where this guy used to upload a lot. It's coming, don't worry. We're changing some things in the community and been traveling a lot. So you may have seen, Savo and Cole and Shive in the previous sessions. Like we did some nice podcasts and everything. And today we're going to talk about Devin AI because last week, I think, if you don't know the context, an AI software engineer was released and it took Twitter. Like it was trending on Twitter, a lot of people sharing their feedback, people doing live streams, getting like millions of views and stuff. So we were like, okay, now is the time. Let's see. And who better to talk about AI helping you in your coding journey than the Pieces team? If you don't know what Pieces is, it's your AI companion. I'll let them share more about it. But if you want to learn more, the website does a great job. So just go to pieces.app and you can find the link that is pinned on the chat as well. You can find the link in the description as well. But yeah, before we get started, let's do some quick intros. How will we start with Savo, Cole, then Shive?
What's going on, everyone? You probably know me, Savo here, CEO and technical co-founder at Pieces. Really excited about this topic, and thanks for joining us today. We're gonna have a good chat, and yeah, looking forward to getting into it.
Hey there, my name's Cole, CMO at Pieces, and yeah, we've been building a lot of great products for software developers. Hopefully, we can compete with Devin and help quell some of your concerns with the new AI software engineer. Really excited to be here, Kunal. Thanks for having us again.
Hey everyone, I'm Shivai, Devil at Get Pieces, but primarily also focusing on adoption of our open source SDKs and how people can contribute and build their own co-pilots or integrations with the help of all these amazing offline, online large language models. So super excited to also talk about AI agents and how they are empowering software engineers as well.
Awesome.
Amazing. But yeah, let's get started. I think, let me just double check. We have 600 people watching, and we have just gotten started. So very nice to see everyone. And throughout the session, whatever we discuss, I'll update the links in the description. So make sure you check it out. But let's get started with the topic at hand. When we talk about AI in software engineering, right? Some people are saying like, okay, we have already heard it a million times. It's going to replace jobs. A lot of people were joking on Twitter, like, okay, it was good while it lasted, had a good run, things like that. So where do you perceive this, the role of AI in software engineering, if we talk about the next 5 years to a decade, particularly in relation with like what the worry people have around losing their jobs? Or is it like job displacement or job enhancement, or would like to go first?
I'll jump in here and I'll start off with something that might be a little more lighthearted than developers in mass losing their jobs. But I think Devin, first and foremost, will not be taking developers' jobs until its meme game is on point, right? I don't know about you all, but at least in our all hands or pull requests or things like that, we've got some pretty good memes going around, and so we definitely need that level of kind of I don't know, lightheartedness when we're in the trenches writing a bunch of code and solving hard problems. But on a more serious tone, it's actually pretty interesting because it's not necessarily announced yet, but we just we're in the middle of closing our Series A funding round, right? And that will be closing next week, March 22nd. And at the beginning of the entire partner presentation, when I was out there with the VCs and doing the presentations, we have our company vision, right? And our company vision is to fundamentally harmonize human and AI work streams, right? And to create this symmetry between human and AI systems. And when we think about a system like Devin, it's really interesting because it's working right now. And my mind immediately goes to how will this system scale in the future, right? And if you have a kind of like human out of the loop system, right, where it's fully autonomous and you're not necessarily like keeping tabs on it, there's two things that are going to go on, right? It might go down a path of non-defined or non-well-defined kind of project scopes. So I think that's going to be like challenge number one is how do you keep this thing on task, on track? And we face this as project managers, as engineers ourselves, right? And then the second thing is, it may work on code bases today that are small, maybe 1 million lines of code or things like that. But will it work on a code base that's 10 million lines of code, right? Or 100 million lines of code, or a mono repo inside of something like Google? And what is its ability to index, retrieve, generate, and be grounded in that larger context of an entire project or an entire organization? And like I said, not small projects. And then the second thing from that is, let's think about the energy and the compute and the processing power, and even the time, as projects scale, right? As the amount of stuff you have to index, as the amount of stuff you have to generate and traverse and kind of coordinate, as that scales, it's going to be really hard to get a high fidelity system that understands that full picture, right? And like I said, understanding a full picture of 1 million lines of code is not trivial, but it's certainly phase one. How does that scale beyond that? And how do we do this in a way where we don't have to go raise $7 trillion for, energy and GPUs and all the like? And so I think that until they really, really figure out that problem of like extreme scalability, at the hardware and energy level, I think that we're going to need to build systems that keep humans in the loop, right? And even then, in the future, when we have solved that scalability problem, I think that the role of the developer is not going to be extinct. It'll simply be evolved, right? Where developers, it's less about writing code and it's more about keeping their AI counterparts and their AI teammates on track. And then also connecting higher level dots, right? That intuition, that creativity. And I think that's something that humans are inherently good at. We also have to remember that at the end of the day, we're building software for other humans, right? And we build software that powers the digital world, powers infrastructure and everything that we love and know about modern society. And so we have to be in the loop to guide this thing, to understand what is it that we as humans need. And instead of just like arbitrarily generating, a feature set that's not going to be helpful and impactful. So that's kind of, that's my, I would say roundabout way of saying, we're not going anywhere for the foreseeable future. But I think that we're going to have these AI teammates deeply involved. And the goal, especially of our company, is to maintain that symmetry between human and systems. Yeah.
Yeah, because we have seen like a lot of companies in the recent last few months who are trying to solve a lot of challenges and also solve problems that don't exist. For example, like a lot of people who are just doing stuff for the sake of it. And it's really interesting to see, where pieces lie in all of this in terms of, what you offer. Like I hated making notes, for example. And I don't know about you, but I don't think I have opened Stack Overflow in a really long time. I don't remember. Like when was the last time I opened Stack Overflow? I used to be like,
100%. Yeah. I can definitely relate, and that's interesting.
So yeah, that's definitely the shift is happening. I experience this every day, in the way which I have started working. But wow, 800 people now. So thank you everyone for tuning in. If you're new, then check out the links in the description. Check out pieces.app and play around with it. The tool has evolved quite a lot since we first spoke, I believe, which was only a few months ago. But I think this might be a hot take, but if you're worried about AI replacing your job, then you're probably not that good at it, and you should be worried. I don't know if that makes sense. Because there's a nice tweet like AI will not replace you. A person using AI will replace you. But yeah, thanks for sharing, Zavo. I don't know how true that was, but maybe Cole and Shiva, you'd like to add in your thoughts?
Yeah, Kunal, I think one interesting aspect of AI entering the workflows of software development is the educational aspect. So there are a lot of junior developers. Many people are coming out of college right now, and they're learning, computer science, learning how to code. And the main way that our marketing team intersects with our product team is through content creation. So things that you're doing yourself. And I'd love to get your take on this as well, since I know, there's probably many people in the audience looking for your next DSA video. But people go to YouTube to learn about our features. That's the main source. Obviously, our documentation, but they like a visual way of learning new features on the tools that they're interested in, learning new concepts, and there may be some overlap with AI and content creation. We've seen Sora, text to video generation. It's really powerful technology, and so will developers be able to automate some of the things that they're doing in their workflow? I mean, software development is multifaceted. So some aspects of the job are, when you're not in the code, you're helping to advocate for the thing that you just built. You're going on your social media channels and talking about it. You're writing documentation about that feature, and you're creating some videos. And I think, some people really enjoy that aspect of the job, and some software developers don't. And so many will have the opportunity in the future to automate some of those things, create automatic documentation for the features that they've built, maybe even complete video campaigns where they're actively showcasing the product by just plugging in AI to their system. Now, I'm not sure if that's really going to become a reality, but I think there are some ways that AI is going to automate the mundane tasks that some software developers have to go through. But overall, and the thing that Pieces is really focused on, is the augmentation of their workflows. So improving the collaboration with other teammates, helping them innovate by just moving quicker and just improving the little things throughout their day-to-day projects, just making simple tasks a little bit faster, a little bit more seamless, so that they can be more productive and have a more holistic view on their projects. Problem solving, making sure that the right stakeholders are involved, making sure that they're actually developing something that their users want to see in their product. So things will change for sure. It's going to take some adaptation, but overall, I think especially in these early phases, there's nothing to be necessarily concerned about. It's really just be willing to adapt, be willing to try out these new technologies and see how they can improve your workflows.
Yeah, and just to add on to what Cole was saying real quick, and Shreya, I know you probably have some thoughts on this too, but Pieces in short, really where we're evolving to, that augmentation that Cole's speaking towards is we just want to give you relevant materials, relevant pointers based on what you're currently looking at, right? And so if you think about our kind of early days, atomic material is a snippet, right? But what's related to that snippet, the people, the files, the projects, the links, all of that. And similarly in the future, it'll be, what are you looking at in the browser? And then, here's a heads up display of those related items, right? So who should I talk to about this pull request, or, what files is this, related to, or what was I doing yesterday that's relevant? And I think, again, those are the human in the loop components, which are really important. Yeah. And then I have some other topics. We'll get there. I know we've got a lot to cover here. Yeah.
Yeah. We're 10 minutes in. We have 1,100 people watching live. So thanks for joining, everyone. I should do live streams more often. It's a good reminder. But Shive, I'd like to talk to you about, if you can share, we're talking about AI tools and what Cole and Zavo already mentioned. Regarding Pieces, the things that you people are doing, can you share any specific examples and tie it in with the current, current way in which the AI tools are transforming the work of developers, and how do you see this, in the coming future?
Absolutely. So I think our focus really is on workflows, right? So it's not just a single task like what GitHub Copilot might do, help you with writing a test case for your code base. A workflow is a lot more complex than that. It involves things like doing research, right? So normally you'd be going online, you'll be reading a document or an documentation site. Let's say you're building a React component for the first time. So you'll go to the React docs, you'll learn about how you build a React component for the first time. So now what you could do is you could very easily just save a particular snippet for a React component, a sample React component, by the help of the Pieces web extension, let's say. And now, once you go into your development mode, right, you can leverage all of those particular snippets right inside of your VS Code. Let's say you're now writing your code base and you're writing the code for creating your first ever component, and you want to have a quick recap of what that particular component that you had originally saved. So that's one aspect of your workflow, from doing a very seamless transition from research back into development. And of course, when you're actively developing, you might face a lot of issues with your code. Especially if you're a junior developer, now you can use Pieces Copilot to ask any questions regarding your code as well, and then reference those safe snippets. But also, as Savo and Cole mentioned, that it's not just about the safe snippets and your current code base, right? Being able to track every single aspect of how you went into doing your development. If you're speaking with other developers in your team, so you can also see what are some of the other code snippets that the other developers have also written. So it's about how can you look at this on a holistic level, where you're focusing on doing the research, like the initial research, then doing development, doing some kind of debugging for your code base, and then you're sharing it very easily, right? But still maintaining that context of that particular development that you're doing, right? In this case, the context is that you're creating your first ever React project with some components. So I think that is one of the key areas which really helps to differ pieces from other kind of AI tools that are there. So a lot of them you find that are essentially just wrappers around GPT-4 API, or this wrapper around Gemini API. Now they are great for giving you context of just solving whatever you're having in your current code base, but then when you look at a holistic level of how a developer performs their day-to-day task, that's where they will lack, right? And that's what we are trying to solve. Just understanding what a developer's life cycle or how they even interact outside of their coding environment, and also bringing those instances inside of your workflow to give you more curated examples, or just giving you more curated help that will help you to power your development journey. And again, if I've missed anything, Cole or Sao, please feel free to add to it.
Yeah, and I know we'll circle back to some of the Devin stuff. I think that that's obviously a big topic for everyone. But Shivay, you're exactly right. And the goal of Pieces is to capture that work in progress journey, right? Whether you do it proactively or whether Pieces captures it for you. And then when you're in that context, either in the moment, right thereafter, switching from research and problem solving into a development cycle, or later on down the line, you're revisiting a project, you're upgrading it, whatever else. Can we serve that stuff back to you, right? The links you visited, the snippets you looked at, the files you were working in, the people you talked to, all of the above. And so, everyone will start to see Pieces evolve as a heads-up display for developers, giving you what you need based on your current context in kind of like a feed-like form factor. And that's a very different approach. We are a huge believer that the developer role, sure, it is evolving, but it is absolutely going to be around. And then, Kunal, kind of to bring us back to the point on Devin, I actually think that there's another large challenge around AI, and maybe AI is not necessarily artificial intelligence, but it's more so average intelligence, right? This idea that whatever you train it on, the outputs are going to be the largest clusters of inputs, right? And so, if you think about it, if you have a code base where there's 10% really world-class code, and there's 70% okay code, and then you have another 20% that's it's really just not great. That system, like Devin, is going to trend towards the middle of the bell curve and write code that is average, not necessarily expert, right? And in a world like ours, maybe the goal is to take that 10%, those patterns, implementations, performance improvements, whatever else, and bring that to the rest of the code base. And so I think that you can get out of hand very quick, where your code base grows extremely fast, but it also becomes more average, right? And that has performance implications, that has bug implications, that has security implications, and all the likes. And I think that that really is what we're talking about, is bias in AI, right? And you want to have bias where you want your AI agents to not necessarily be an average developer. You want those AI agents to continuously upskill the code base, upskill the developer working on the code base, and so on, and be 10x. And so I don't know, you have to be specific in the levers you're pulling, right? How fast does the code base grow, and how fast do we ship those those features, but also too, what's the technical debt, right? What's the quality of the code base? And so, a tool like Devin inside of a company where you have 10 really, really good developers, and that's the largest, kind of the Eng team, right? Think about this as the WhatsApp example. They had a pretty scoped Eng team, and they built a world-class product. Devin might do really well. But if you bring Devin to a company like, a massive Fortune 100 company that has massive amounts of code, and that code is okay, it's not the best, then Devin might lead you right down the wrong path very, very quickly. And you're going to have to figure out how to undo that, right? How to back out of that. So there's all types of challenges with these AI systems, especially as they move up the gradient of autonomy. And I think you absolutely have to have humans in the loop for that. So that's my 2 cents on some of the Devin stuff.
Thanks for sharing, Zavo. And I think if we look at what we have done as engineers, like we have replaced a lot of areas as well, like developers over the past few years. And when we talk about like the change, so we had, let's say, you had virtual machine. You had just what do you call it? The era before the virtual machines. You had to have your own servers and everything. If you wanted to scale up, you need to have
on-prem and all that.
On-prem and all that. Then came virtual machines, and people were like, okay, it's gonna help out. And then you had microservices, now containers that came along. Then Kubernetes came along. And we're like, it's gonna replace so many roles, Kubernetes, because it provides automation and management and all these other things. But in reality, what happened was that it created more jobs, just in a different sort of way. One thing is, like, if you're a developer, then I don't think you should ever stop learning, because things, the landscape keeps evolving over time. But the good question that we are getting over here is, if you can just sum up, this guy is asking, should I quit my degree?
Absolutely not. Well, to that question specifically, definitely do not quit your degree. I would say a computer science degree, software engineering degree, systems, whatever else. It teaches you a decision-making framework that you can not only apply to your work, but also to your life. Right. And I think, like, they actually say, like, similar to when you learn a new language, the structure of your brain actually changes. And similarly with writing software, you begin to think about things differently. Right. And so, I think definitely don't kind of disregard your degree, because you can apply computer science and the principles that you've learned in that to any field, right? Biology, physics, mathematics, finance, you name it. And so it's a very, like, pivotable degree. So you're definitely not closing any doors, and it's worthwhile in the investment. Yeah. That's my 2 cents there.
Yeah.
And just to kind of add to this, right? Oh, sorry, go
ahead. I'll let you go, Shivay, but just quickly, I think that I spoke to a user just recently of Pieces, and he was in the robotics and hardware world, and just recently went back to university to go get his computer science degree. So he definitely finds a lot of value in learning software development still in 2024. And I think it just comes down to this approach of having sort of multiple skill sets, right? Like, AI can automate the very basics of writing code. We've seen AI code generation tools. Pieces can do it, but that's not all that a developer does, right? Being able to apply software development skills to other fields, I think, is going to be a big new wave of jobs. Like Kunal said, there's going to be a lot of more opportunities to apply these concepts of AI into new fields, into academia, into hardware, and being able to take AI and disrupt new industries. It's sort of like going from hammer and nails to a drill and screws. You're able to build a lot quicker and make things a little bit more sturdy, but you still need those carpenters that are actually using those tools and finding new ways to implement these new practices to create great solutions. When I was in university, I learned in a psychology class, actually, that People that were that learned a second language, that were bilingual within the first 5 years of being born, they have on average of a 10 to 15% higher IQ. And I thought that was the most interesting thing, because it just sort of goes to show when you are rounded out and you are learning other concepts in your life and skills, it has this holistic boost to the things that you're able to accomplish. You're able to connect different concepts and be able to deliver value in whatever you're trying to tackle.
And like just kind of to touch upon both Cole's and Sau's points and kind of round it up, I think there are two key important points that we can kind of take away is that your software engineering degree is now no longer limited to you learning a basic tutorial on how to build a full stack application and calling yourself like a 100x engineer. I think it will now, because of course AI is capable of just writing a React component or building a full stack application. You have to really dive deeper into whatever you're learning, right? You need to know from ground up how, like, let's say computers work or how computer networking works, right? And I think like that will be really important, because as we will shift from writing hands down coding to actually, like, let's say using some of these AI tools, if you don't know the inner workings of whatever you're building yourself, then you'll not be able to tweak some of the issues that these AI tools might be generating, like some faulty code that might get generated. So you need to go become 100x of whatever you're doing. And again, like there's no change in how you're approaching your studies, but just being more vigilant and just understanding that engineering is all about problem solving, right? Today, yes, you're writing code yourself. Next day, you are essentially acting as an architect for the code that is being written by the Copilot or by pieces, let's say. So yeah, I mean, that was my 2 cents that I wanted to add to it.
100%. And maybe what I can do is answer a question in the chat super quick is, what can we do to future-proof against, these AI systems and whatnot? I would say, for example, we were growing up in the era where we could Google anything, right? And some people are better at Googling things than others, right? And it really comes down to using the tools, right? And understanding what the tools are doing. And so, I think that you should adopt AI tools because as soon as you adopt them, you begin to understand how you're using them, right? How to best and most optimally use them. But you also understand what they're not doing for you, right? And where your role becomes more valuable. And so, I think that'll naturally guide you. And then also too, like understanding, again, where your value is, that only comes from understanding where the value of these AI systems are and where their limitations are, right? And so I think that'll naturally kind of like guide the evolution of the developer to work in harmony with these systems. But most importantly, use these tools, right? Use them, understand how to ask ChatGPT or whatever system you like out there, the question, but also how to prompt it in a way that's going to get you your actual response, right? There's a million ways to ask a question. So refining your model for prompting these kind of AI systems is super important. And then also too, just leveraging them, right? And if you buy yourself time through leveraging these systems, then you buy yourself time to evolve your role and move into other locations where the model has limitations and you can complement it really well. And so, yeah, I think that use the tools. I think that's the most important thing is use the tools and understand what they're doing. And then from there, you'll naturally know where to kind of evolve your role.
Another question, in the same area is like something that many people have asked is, so when we talk about preparing for engineering roles, so how has that changed now, or in the coming future? And also, two trends to it. So one is around, preparing for engineering roles. How would that change? And hiring, how would that change? So what should the companies look for in candidates now?
I think that companies may evolve their hiring process, right, and their technical interviews and things like that. But I think there's a couple of really important things, right? And maybe we can talk about our hiring process, for example. And first and foremost is, are you asking the right questions, right? Are you creatively thinking about okay, I was biased towards trying to get this answer, right? That's confirmation bias in psychology. And therefore the questions I'm going to ask are going to include that bias. Can you very quickly change your perspective and ask a different question that still gets you to that end solution, but kind of removes your bias, right? So what are the questions you're asking in the first place? And are you evaluating kind of retroactively that those are the right questions to ask? And then the second thing is, how are you asking those questions? I think that's really important. Then the third thing is this. This goes back to what I was saying earlier. Like, for example, data structures and algorithms, right? Learning those systems, right? Learning the scalability of those systems, the big O notation, things like that, and how they're represented, that enables you to build a decision-making framework that allows you to navigate all different types of complexities in your job, right? And so a lot of these large companies, including ours, a small company, our technical interview doesn't necessarily evaluate, will you be able to do this role? It evaluates how you think and how you go about problem solving. And I think that's a really, really important component to continue to double down on. And so if you combine like a very, kind of discrete mathematics or like a logical based decision-making framework, and you combine that with a lot of creativity, you become a world-class engineer where you can pivot into any role, be it AI, infrastructure, product, whatever you need. And I think that, the goal of the developer, again, is to actually go more horizontal, right? To be able to work on different types of problems, and jump around a bit more. So, yeah.
Yeah. You work with the AI, you use your emotional intelligence and your strategic thinking and your creativity in order to, have a symbiotic relationship and really boost your effectiveness in tandem with the AI.
And I think just to also touch upon this very simple, very small point, which was asked by Pulast about how can junior developers use these AI tools. So I think there's still a bit of word of caution on how you end up using them, because what you don't want to do is become over reliant on them. Ensure that you do have the background knowledge on whatever use case you're going to be using them for, right? Prompt engineering is of course really great, impactful thing to learn these days as well. So just ensure that you're not just blindly doing or using these AI tools. It's important that yes, you first develop your skills so that when you leverage these AI tools, what is the correct response, and then you can use it in a specific location in your project, let's say. So that's just one thing that I wanted to quickly touch upon.
100%. I can speak towards this question that we have on the screen real quick. The answer is absolutely yes, right? And when we think about, I joke about the scalability of AI, right? The compute, the energy, things like that. We all have pretty powerful devices, and the devices are only getting more powerful, right? You think about the M3 series that Apple just released. You think about all the stuff that's going on with the NPUs and the work that's going on at Qualcomm and Intel. And of course the GPU work, right? What's happening at NVIDIA. I think that, for AI to be really, really helpful, especially for the way that humans interact with their digital devices, it has to be fast, it has to be private, and it has to be performant. And so one of the things that we do here at Pieces is we ship a variety of large language models that run hardware accelerated on device to hit those privacy, security kind of thresholds. But also too, we want them to be performant. And so systems like Onyx, systems like TVM, systems like WebAssembly, where you can have very kind of isomorphic AI systems that can run on different architecture types and still maintain that performance threshold. It's super important, right? And I think that in a world of AI, right, I think that it's actually going to be blended. You're going to have systems on device that are real time and keeping up with you, and offloading offloading processing from systems in the cloud, which are really, really large models with extremely large context windows and things like that, expensive to run, take a lot of time. I think there's going to be a complementary relationship between those two types of models and systems. But yeah, that all comes down to how do you ship these, right? WebAssembly and the like. Yeah. And
yeah, just to also touch upon from a WASM perspective, right? So these days, what we're seeing is that Python is great. It is great, but we are definitely seeing more of Rust being used a lot for implementation as well. And that kind of is because of two reasons. Rust is just better performing in terms of being able to but just faster than Python, right? And it complements very well with Wasm. So you're seeing a lot of tools like Llama Edge, which is an open source tool that allows you to just like very quickly use any large language model inference and do that either in your server or through like a serverless function. So we are seeing more of those use cases where, as you know, Sabu mentioned, that whether you talk about Onyx as a runtime or WebAssembly that is capable of being able to do that inference or AI inferencing on a number of different type of device architectures. You don't have to worry about making tweaks into your PyTorch model to run on different kind of device architectures, right? That's universally supported with the help of WebAssembly. But the only thing that you have to just keep in mind is that how can we further fine tune or quantize these models to run in these low level environments? I think like that's just one of the considerations that you will have to take. But yes, in general, all of these low level environments, or if you're trying to do inference on edge devices, will be very well complemented with Wasm or with Onyx as well.
Yeah, 100%. Kunal, kind of to maybe bring it back to the original topic as well, around like, is AI going to kind of replace our jobs? Is it going to, what are the implications of system like Devin and so on? I want to remind everyone that there's still a ton of code in the world that exists, and there's still a ton of code in the world that needs to be written, right? And I actually believe that we do still deeply suffer from a shortage of developers. Like, even for example, like take the United States government, a ton of their systems are running on mainframes, right? A ton of their systems, are written in code that is from the 80s, the 90s, early 2000s, which is private, and it's not available for these large language models to train on. And so, I think that there's going to be all types of challenges around that, right? And so, at the end of the day, we have a shortage of developers. These AI systems, they're gonna help that shortage, right? But I don't think it's gonna replace it anytime soon. Yeah.
Yeah, and when we talk about like, so obviously it's very powerful and everything, and there's a shift that is happening. All of that is good, but I am like a very optimistic person, and in general, like if we have these tools at our disposal that are like so powerful, and okay, new way to work, your AI companion, is anyone also thinking about the new types of challenges that we can solve? So for example, you have like, if I talk about like, I don't know, I haven't researched much about different domain like quantum computing. Okay, so we know that if you have like very small quantum computers, whatever, you can make like, I don't know, the Apple Vision Pro, you can make it like really small. So challenge, solution. So with AI coding companions, has anyone thought about like, okay, very powerful tool, very nice, but now what are some of the challenges that I was having difficulty in solving before the age of AI, and what can I do now?
I think the number one problem it solves is just access to information. I think that, it is a different way to get a single shot response. If you think about it, before I would go to Google, and I still do this, by the way, like all the time. I would go to Google, I'd put a search term in, I'd get, 10 or 20 top links. I would open one, I would explore it, right, one by one. And that's where you get, 50 tabs open in your Chrome browser at the end of the day. And now I think that like general information or information about, going from, A type of implementation to B type of implementation, or A language to B language. I think that large language models kind of like expedite that process, right? But, I still think that fundamentally what AI is a lookup system, right? It's a generative lookup system. And if you think about how it generates code, it has all of its knowledge on what it's been trained on, has the context of the code base, kind of indexed and grounding it. But it's looking that stuff up, it's combining it, and then it's roughly approximating what the output's going to be, right? It doesn't know for certain. And a lot of this stuff is just like its best, highest probability guess of what the code you're looking for is. Right. And that's in the end of the day, the short of generative AI. I would say that, I'm excited about the implications in other domains besides just simply writing software. I think that, the implications on genomics, on, pharmacy, developing an antibiotic, I think on physics and math, I think two pretty awesome breakthroughs. There was a model called Fun LM from DeepMind, and it basically outputted like 200 kind of bullcrap mathematical proofs, but there were 2 of them in there that just, again, on a probability meter, it discovered a mathematical breakthrough that we've been looking at for, a couple of centuries, right? And that's pretty interesting because it took extremely high level mathematicians to identify 198 are incorrect and 2 of them are actually correct, right? And then similarly, we just discovered, a new antibiotic for the first time in 50 years using, generative AI and simulation systems, right? So I think that's going to be super exciting. I think that, the other thing to note about these systems is every single AI model is different, right? The prompt engineering that goes into it is very different for a local model with 7 billion parameters and a 124 or a 1024 context window versus a 200 billion parameter in the cloud with a 16 K context window. And so, as these AI models evolve, you have to go back and you have to re-prompt engineer, right? You have to reorganize, you have to eliminate certain processes that were like multiple calls out to these large language models, maybe down to 1 now, because you have a new large language model with a larger context window. So I think that we're going to be playing a lot of keep up with these systems. And, that'll introduce a whole bunch of technical debt and overhead, which is, again, another problem to solve, because it's just evolving so fast. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, talking about, just information overload. We've had multiple podcasts where Sawa, you've gone on and talked about the chaos of the developer's workflow in the modern day where they have 50 tabs open. There's more PRs, there's more languages they have to learn. And so really just understanding all of this information that's coming out and being able to organize it. We've seen a huge explosion of users on tools like Obsidian because they just want to have a better way to manage their knowledge base, and Notion as well. These tools are getting a lot of adoption, especially by software developers, because they're interacting with a lot of code. They're learning a lot of things. There's just so many different concepts. I mean, I'm not much of a developer myself, so it looks like, Spanish to me. I can't even start to grasp all of the technical terms that a developer has to know in order to be able to do their job efficiently. And so managing this knowledge and using tools like Pieces in conjunction with Obsidian, we have an integration with Obsidian where you're able to not only store those code snippets and the materials that you're interacting with on a daily basis, but also automatically enrich them with the context of where you got it, who you got it from, when you got it, and be able to easily pick up where you left off, return back to those projects after you're taking a break or whatever, and be able to just stay in flow, be a little bit more efficient.
Yeah. I definitely have some thoughts to add to that, to kind of like make it a little more explicit. Cole's spot on there, right? And as a developer, Kunal, when you think back, right, 2 years ago, maybe I wrote a couple of languages, right? Maybe I wrote JavaScript / TypeScript, whatever, some HTML, some CSS, Dart, backend stuff like Java. But now I have the capability to not only write like 2 or 3 languages, but maybe 4 or 5, right? And so if you think about the implications of that, going from, a couple of languages on a couple of projects, on a couple of cross-functional teams, now to saying I can basically do 3 or 4 times the amount of languages. I can work on 3 or 4 times or 5 times the amount of projects, and I have to interact with a whole lot more team members as I move around and become horizontal in the work I do. That creates an explosion of context and material and projects and just navigation that the developer has to sort through and navigate, right? And so I think like that's a really big challenge. And we think that these AI systems are producing a volume of material at a velocity that developers haven't experienced before. How can we have systems like Pieces that shadow you, kind of through your workflow, identify what is important, capture that, and then serve that back to you when you come into that context again. So it's certainly going to be a big challenge as just developers become a lot more horizontal in their roles. Yeah.
And just to also touch upon the life of a junior developer, because I know like there are a lot of like developers who are still in their college, in this particular live stream. Another great aspect is very unified or easier developer onboarding, right? We all face it from time to time. Whenever you get onto a new role, you are exposed to a large code base, and it can always be very difficult to understand that. But just the capability of using AI to scan through an entire code base and just help you, right, with any sort of question that you have. There's this interesting SWE benchmark which showed like today, even Devin is only capable of solving like 13% of all the different open source issues, right? So, I mean, yes, you still need some sort of human element to being able to solve your good first issue. If, like, let's say you're contributing to open source or contributing to the first ever pull request that you're making in the new role that you have joined. But just getting that context of understanding, like, let's say one piece of code that you are not able to understand from your entire code base, asking that to, like, let's say Pieces Copilot, getting a response, and that helping you to accelerate your understanding of the entire code base as well, right? That's also a very important aspect when you look at this overarching picture, and especially as like Sawa and Cole mentioned, when you're becoming that kind of a horizontal engineer where you're working with multiple stakeholders or multiple code bases, right? Being able to also just understand those code bases very easily without having to Google through documentation, right? That's also a big win for early adopters or early developers in that journey.
100%.
Couldn't agree more. Well, thanks for sharing. Oh, 2,000 people. I'm going to take a screenshot.
That's awesome. Let's go.
Nice. But yeah, I think 1,000 more people have joined since we started. So yeah, it's being recorded as well, so you can watch it later on. We'll obviously be doing more and more content. Some folks are spamming about data structures and algorithms. I will complete it. I promise. Just give me some time. I'm going to Paris tomorrow. Is Shive coming? You're coming? Okay, I'll see you there. So we're going to KubeCon, and then we have Cebu Navigate Tampa local next month, then Cube Huddle in May in Canada, and yeah, it's going to be exciting. But this was really fun. People are still joining in. So lastly, I'd just like to check out Pieces, amazing work they're doing, because it's not just about Pieces. They integrate well with a lot of other tools that you might be already using in your day-to-day. I think IntelliJ IDEA products, VS Code, very popular. But just with the speed that your team is working, Zava, Cole, and Shive, it's just I can't even imagine what you're going to do in like next 1 year.
I can,
especially after the Series A. Should do something with. Yeah. You should do something with like VR or something. Might as well get on that train.
Absolutely. I can tell you this. I was just in Edinburgh, Scotland for the past week and a half. I got back on Wednesday, and we had a machine learning summit where basically the entire machine learning team is heads down, kind of doing like a hackathon. Of course, we had some good Guinness as well, but we're absolutely getting after it. And we have set up basically the high level implementations for our product the next 24 months. And I will tell you, it's going to be nothing short of amazing. And it's not necessarily like Devin, right? Where it's, like this autonomous agent is writing all this code for you. It's going to make you as a developer just feel like these AI tools are helping you, right? Not replacing you. And I think at the end of the day, we are building vigorously to achieve this mission of harmonizing human and AI work streams. And I think that, our goal is to maintain the symmetry between the work that AI does with you and the work that you do in a larger engineering environment, right? And again, let's build some amazing products for this world, and let's go solve some hard problems. So excited.
Yeah, Pieces for Apple Vision Pro. My Vision Pro is just lying there somewhere. I played with it for like 5 minutes, and now it's just that's how impulsive buys are. But now I'm waiting for people to make more tools on it or something. It's very good for watching movies though. Like watching movies. Yeah.
Someone just actually built like an extension for Blender. So you basically, yeah, exactly. That is so cool, right?
Awesome.
Cool. All right. just one last question we'll take, and then we'll wrap it up because, to be wary of everyone's time as well. 2,100 people watching live. So yeah, check out pieces.app. And if you're already here, might as well join the Pieces community and continue the conversation over there. And you can find the links to join and everything on the website, or you can find it in the description below. Just one last question we'll take is, what do you think about Sora AI?
I would say it's another one. I don't think that it's necessarily, I think, again, it's just chipping away at, tokens per second. I think it's chipping away at context windows. I think it's chipping away at autonomy of these AI systems. But I think that, again, like it's not necessarily, it's going to solve all the same, or it's going to face all the same problems that we were discussing earlier, right? How do you prevent bias, in these generative systems? How do you have a human in the loop kind of interface that's helpful? And also too, like, how do you make sure we don't run out of electricity? I think Elon put that tweet out, and it was quite controversial, but there's a little bit of truth to it, right? We've got blockchain, which uses a lot of electricity. We've got AI, which uses a lot of electricity. Both of them are powered by GPUs. So we're like, all right, let's see how this goes. And I would say for everyone, definitely give Pieces a look. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're gonna kind of chop up this video, put them out there. We're gonna have some really good clips and things like that. We've got all types of great content, but yeah, looking forward to it.
Yeah, let me ask you, Kunal, do you think Sora is going to be making DSA videos for you in the future?
That's the thing. Like it's not just Sora. It's like I can outsource my social media. I can outsource my blogs and stuff. But when it comes to videos, so I am the only one who can make videos for my channel,
Right.
and I can't hire someone else. So by the way, let me just quickly share the Pieces YouTube channel. There you go.
Definitely give that a
but
thumb.
yeah. So if you subscribe to that, that'd be great. You can find some nice content over there, and the Instagram as well. Like I think you're very active on Instagram and sharing a lot of tips for developers. But back to the question, I don't think so, because people don't watch what you do; they watch how you do it. Does that make sense? And I think one of the reasons why, because there are plenty of data structures courses out there, or plenty of web dev courses out there, like Free Code Camp, so popular, but people still request me. I think it's weird. Like, just go watch Free Code Camp, so good. Why do you want me to make
It's the charisma.
videos?
It's the charisma.
Yeah.
So it's about the individual themselves, I think. Unless Sora AI can like completely replicate me and my accent and my everything. Yeah.
I would say
that's just to touch upon like what Kunal kind of mentioned. It's very hard to get that charisma, like to replicate that. And again, like I can vouch for, or I'm not sugarcoating what Kunal has been doing. It's been really great. I have watched his videos around like trees and all, and I was always scared of trees, right? While I was in college, and it was like after college when I graduated, then Kunal made a video around trees, and oh wow, I mean, I think it's just the way that you portray and describe things. It makes a lot of impact,
if only
right?
if only there was like more time. So just like too many things happening. But I'm in my new apartment now, so you can expect more other tutorials and stuff. And obviously, we have Pieces now, so it's going to make life easier for me when making courses as well. But this was a lot of fun. Just join the community, go check out the YouTube channel and other socials if you want to get involved with Pieces team and hear more from Zavo and Cole. They do a lot of stuff over there, and obviously we'll do more in the future. Oh, we have a Twitter space coming up, or X space. Let me see when that is. It's on the 26th. Is it? Yeah, 26th of March. So if you want to, join, we'll announce that as well. But this was really fun, and see you in the Pieces Discord and on their YouTube. And if you have any questions, just send it over there. But you can also, take a screenshot, share on socials what you learned, maybe a nice summary, because a lot of people ask this question on social media. So we covered a lot of nice questions. So yeah, good opportunity for you to write a thread or a blog or something. Yeah. It's a lot of fun. Any closing remarks?
Come hang out on our Discord. We'd love to talk to you and hang out as a team, connect directly with us. And let's keep building great products.
Amazing. All right. See you, folks.
And
Bye.
just one more thing as a
Right.
shout out
Oh.
is that we are, very young into our like open source journey. So if you're interested to build cool projects, that's a great space as well on our Discord. So that'll be good to have you, and we'll build AI, cutting edge AI driven projects with Pieces SDKs together.
Nice.
Awesome.
All right.
Cool.
Cool.
Thanks, everyone. Bye. Have a great one.
Thanks,
See ya.
Kunal.